Let me say this in a way you can actually hear it. You're not confused. You're avoiding the truth. Because if you're honest with yourself, there are things in your life right now that are clear. You know that situation isn't right. You know that conversation needs to happen. You know the decision you're leaning towards. But instead of acting on it, you're sitting in. I don't know. You're telling yourself, I'm still figuring it out. I need more clarity. I'm not sure yet. But if we strip all of that back, what you're really saying is, I don't want to deal with what this requires of me, because the truth is rarely complicated, but it is uncomfortable. And that's the part you've been avoiding, because once you admit the truth, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to pretending things are fine. You can't keep doing what you've been doing. You have to respond to it. And that's where most people pause, not because they don't know, because they don't want to move. And that's exactly what we're shifting today, because we're in June, Energy Body 6, your intuitive body, the part of you that already sees clearly. And in a universal year 1, where your life is asking you to step into self-leadership and actually act on what you know, you don't get to stay in avoidance, not without feeling it, that tension, that frustration, that sense that something is off. That's not confusion. That's truth you're not acting on. Now, if you're new here, hi, I'm Cherry. I'm your spiritual life coach, numerologist, and energy alchemist. And on this channel, we don't just talk about awareness. I help you actually do something with it. So before you go any deeper, if you're ready to stop avoiding and start facing what's real, hit subscribe and tap the notification bell and join this space, because this isn't just content. This is where you stop pretending you don't know and start living like someone who does. Now let's make this real, because avoiding truth sounds big, but it shows up in small everyday moments. So let's bring this down to what it actually looks like in your life. Because you're not walking around saying, I'm avoiding the truth. You're doing it in ways that feel normal. It looks like staying in situations you know don't feel right, but telling yourself, maybe it's not that bad. It looks like avoiding a conversation you know you need to have and saying, I'll do it later. It looks like knowing what decisions you want to make, but sitting on it for days or weeks. It looks like feeling something clearly about a person or situation and then talking yourself out of it. Telling yourself, I'm probably overthinking. I don't want to assume. I need to be sure. But if you pause for a second, you'll realize something. You knew before all of that, before the thinking, before the explaining, before the delaying. And instead of trusting that, you softened it. You made it easier to sit with. Because facing the truth means you have to respond to it. You can't stay where you are. You can't keep doing the same thing. You can't pretend it's fine. So instead, you stay in the middle, not fully in it, not fully out of it, just avoiding. And this is why it feels heavy, because part of you is constantly holding something you're not addressing. That's why it lingers. That's why it keeps coming back. Not because it's unclear, but because you're not acting on it. And the more you do that, the more disconnected you feel from yourself. Not because you don't know, but because you're choosing not to listen. So if this is landing, let's talk about why you avoid the truth in the first place. Because it's not random, and it's not because you're incapable of facing it. It's because the truth requires something from you. It requires change, and change is uncomfortable. Because when you see something clearly, you have to respond to it. You have to set the boundary, have the conversation, make the decision, walk away or speak up. And all of that comes with risk. Risk of conflict, risk of being misunderstood, risk of disappointing someone, risk of things not going the way you hoped. So instead of stepping into that, you soften the truth, you delay it, you question it, not because it's unclear, but because you don't want to deal with what comes next. And this is where most people get stuck. They think, if I just had more clarity, this would be easier. But it wouldn't, because clarity isn't the issue. The action is. The moment you act, things shift. Conversations happen. Dynamics change. Decisions become real. And that's what you've been avoiding. Not the truth itself, but the reality that follows it. So instead, you stay in a space where you can see it, but not fully acknowledge it. You can feel it, but not act on it. You can know it, but not own it. And that's where the tension comes from, because part of you is ready and part of you is holding back. And the longer you stay in that space, the heavier it feels. Not because you don't know what to do, because you're not doing it. And this is the shift from avoiding what's uncomfortable to facing what's true. So let's talk about what this is actually costing you. Because avoiding the truth isn't neutral. It doesn't just keep things the same. It slowly pulls you out of alignment with yourself. Every time you see something clearly and choose not to act on it, you create a disconnect, a gap between what you know and how you're living. And that gap, that's where everything starts to feel off. That's where you feel drained, frustrated, restless, like something isn't quite right, even if you can't fully explain it, because part of you knows I'm not being honest with myself. I'm not fully showing up. I'm avoiding something I need to face. And that doesn't just stay internal. It shows up in your life, in your relationships, because you're not saying what you actually feel, in your decisions, because you're delaying what you already know, in your confidence, because every time you ignore yourself, you reinforce I don't trust myself. And over time, that builds. You start to feel more disconnected, more unsure, more dependent on other people's opinions. Not because you don't know, but because you've stopped listening to yourself. And this is the part that matters. You can't create clarity in your life while avoiding the truth. It doesn't work. You'll keep feeling stuck, keep second guessing, keep circling the same situations because you're trying to move forward without addressing what's already in front of you. And the longer you avoid it, the heavier it becomes. Not because it's getting more complicated, but because you're carrying it. So that frustration you feel, that sense that something needs to change, that's not confusion. That's truth you're not acting on. And if you want things to shift, you don't need more answers. You need to face what you already know. So if this has been feeling louder lately, more obvious, harder to ignore, like you keep coming back to the same realization, there's a reason for that. We're in June, Energy Body 6, your intuitive body. This is the part of you that sees clearly. It doesn't overcomplicate things. It doesn't need endless processing. It gives you that direct signal of this is right, this isn't. This needs to change. And right now, that signal is stronger, which means what you've been avoiding feels more obvious, more present, more unavoidable, because your awareness has caught up. You're not missing anything anymore. You're seeing it clearly. And then we layer on top of that a universal year one. This is a year of new identity, of self-leadership, of becoming someone who doesn't just know the truth, but acts on it. So when you stay in that space of seeing, avoiding, delaying, you create friction, that tension you feel, that sense that something needs to move. That's not pressure. That's misalignment. It's what happens when you're ready to step forward, but you're holding yourself back. And the longer you do that, the stronger that feeling becomes. Not because something is wrong, but because you're not moving with what you already know. So this isn't about life being difficult. This isn't you being confused. This is you being ready to face something, ready to change something, ready to move. And that thing you keep avoiding, that's the doorway. That's the next step. Not something to figure out, but something to face. So if you're ready to stop avoiding the truth, this is where it shifts. Not when you feel more comfortable, but when you decide to face what you already know. The first thing is this. Say it to yourself honestly, because a lot of you haven't actually done that. You felt it, you've circled it, but you haven't said it clearly. So whatever it is for you, name it. This isn't working. I don't want this anymore. I need to change this. I've outgrown this situation. Because the moment you say it, you stop hiding from it. And that's powerful. The second thing is stop softening what you already know, because this is where you keep slipping. You take a clear truth and you make it easier to sit with. You tell yourself, maybe it's not that bad. I'll just give it more time. Don't want to overreact. But all you're doing is delaying what you already know. So your job now is to stop diluting it. Let it be clear, even if it's uncomfortable. The third thing is take one aligned action. Not everything, not a full life overhaul, just one step that matches the truth. Have the conversation. Make the decision. Say no, set the boundary. Whatever it is, move. Because this is where everything changes. Not in understanding the truth, but in acting on it. And the final piece, and this is the one that matters most, is accepting that it's going to feel uncomfortable. Because this is why you've been avoiding it. You're waiting for it to feel easier. It won't. Not before you act. But once you do, the relief comes. The clarity comes. The sense of alignment comes because you're no longer carrying something you've been avoiding. So stop waiting for it to feel perfect and start moving what's real and start moving with what's real. Because that's where your power is. Not in avoiding the truth, but in facing it. This is where it lands as a decision, not just a no. So let's be honest. You already know. You've known. You felt it. You've had those moments where something in you went, this isn't right. This needs to change. I can't keep doing this. And instead of acting on it, you've been circling it, thinking about it, waiting for it to feel easier, waiting for more clarity. But the truth is, you don't need more clarity. You need to face what's already clear, because nothing changes until you do. Not your intuition, not your confidence, not how you feel in your life. You can keep understanding everything perfectly and still stay exactly where you are. This is your moment, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when it feels more comfortable. Now, where you stop avoiding, where you face what you already know, where you take the step. Because the version of you you're becoming, she does not ignore herself. She doesn't pretend she doesn't know. She sees clearly and she moves, even when it's uncomfortable. So if this has landed for you, if you're ready to stop avoiding and actually face what's real, don't just leave it here, because awareness without action is exactly why nothing changes. Week 1, we covered awareness. You saw the pattern. Week 2, we covered reconnection. You learned to trust yourself again. Week 3, you took accountability. You stopped avoiding action. And this week was the mastery, to act on truth and intuition. So first, make sure you hit subscribe and tap the notification bell, because this series has been designed to take you from confusion and self-doubt into clarity and self-trust and self-leadership, step by step. And if you want support with this, you can grab my free boundary bootcamp in the description box below. It'll help you stop people pleasing, set real boundaries, and actually follow through on what you know is right for you. And if you're done avoiding, if you're ready to take full responsibility for your life, your decisions, and your direction, then book a free 30-minute strategy session with me. This is where we take everything you've just realized and turn it into real aligned action. No more circling, no more delaying. Just clarity, just movement, just you actually stepping into the life you say you want. So take a breath and go face the truth you've been avoiding. That brings us to a close for the end of June, Energy Body 6. So I'll see you in the next video for the start of Energy Body 7. Bye for now.